How can anyone look at this footage and not be bothered by what we're seeing? These objects are being tracked by military systems and sometimes for minutes at a time. And yet, after all of this, we still don't know exactly what they are. There's no public identification telling us that they're American, Russian or Chinese, or anything else we currently recognise. So, what exactly are we looking at?
Because I think that we're well past asking whether or not something unusual is happening in our skies. The footage exists, the reports exist, and the governments themselves are now releasing it. And about time too.
But here's what I find much harder to ignore. These shapes, these descriptions, these strange objects, they don't suddenly appear when governments start calling them UAPs. We've been seeing versions of them for a very, very long time. Spheres, orbs, long, smooth objects, multiple objects travelling together, forms that appear to change as they move, different witnesses, different countries, different generations, but some strangely familiar pattern.
And for decades, ordinary people who reported things like this were simply laughed at. Pilots were interviewed, witnesses were dismissed, and now some of the most sophisticated military equipment are recording these objects themselves. So maybe it's time that we stop looking at every sighting in isolation and started looking at the pattern.
Because once you put some of these recordings side by side, the question changes. Not, are UFOs real? What are we actually dealing with?
Now, this next footage is actually mine. I was out with Esther filming for my other YouTube channel when we suddenly spotted an incredibly bright object in the sky. And I'll be honest, I didn't immediately point the camera at it. For those first few moments, I was too busy standing there looking at the thing with my own eyes, trying to work out what the heck we were actually seeing. It was only then that I realised I've already got a camera in my hand, so this is what happened next. But what neither of us realised at the time was how much the camera had actually captured.
No way! Look at that cloud right up there. Yeah. You can see a silver thing glistening. Can you see it?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
At the edge of this big cloud,
yes,
there's a tiny, tiny little...
Oh yeah, I can see it.
What the fuck is that? Holy moly, that's not a satellite because it's daytime.
Why can you see satellite in daytime?
Because it's not moving, that's why.
Yeah.
And it's glinting. What on earth is that?
It's moving.
Oh god, it's moving. Oh no, that could be the cloud moving, babe. That's got to be... I'm going to say UFO, babe. I'm sorry. It's not a star. What on earth is that, do you think? Seriously, what do you think that could be?
What about the space station, whatever it's called?
Could be space station, but I don't think it'd glint like that and then not be able to see it again. So whatever it is making its own light. It's not reflecting off the sun.
What you've just heard there is exactly what happened. Before I even got the camera onto it, I'd already been watching this object for several seconds because I wanted to make sure I wasn't looking at a plane or a helicopter or something else completely normal. But this thing was incredibly bright, and I mean extremely bright. It wasn't just shining steadily either, it was flashing in these strange bursts, almost like some kind of Morse code. And what really caught my attention was that it appeared completely static. The clouds were moving around it, but the object itself seemed to remain in the same position. When we got back to the car, Esther was genuinely confused about what she'd just seen. She asked me if it could have been the International Space Station, but that didn't fit. It wasn't moving across the sky like a satellite, and when I checked afterwards, the ISS didn't match where we were or the time of the sighting. It wasn't behaving like a plane, it wasn't a helicopter, it wasn't a bird, it wasn't a balloon, and it wasn't a planet. And I couldn't match what we'd just witnessed to anything conventional. So when I got home, I decided to look at the footage properly. I cropped it, I zoomed in, I slowed it down, and then I started going through it frame by frame. And that's when this sighting became a hell of a lot stranger. Because the bright object we saw with our own eyes wasn't the only thing the camera had captured. Look at this.
Now watch this carefully. The circled object is the main bright UAP that myself and Esther actually saw with our own eyes. But once I slowed the footage down, more started appearing. You can see these two smaller bright objects moving, one after the other at incredible apparent speed, and there are several more fast moving points throughout the clip. The dark shapes are insects close to the camera. You can clearly see the difference. These brighter objects appear much further away, and some seem to disappear into or behind the clouds. If they really are at cloud level or beyond, we could be looking at apparent speeds somewhere around 2,000 to 5,000 miles an hour. And then there's the swirl, visible across a couple of frames before it too becomes lost in the cloud. And even now there are more objects in this footage than I've had time to highlight.
Now these are some of the clearest individual frames I pulled from the footage, enhanced only to bring out the detail that was already there. And look at these objects closely. They appear compact, solid, and intensely bright. To me, they don't behave like simple sunlight reflecting from something in the sky. Across the footage, they seem to brighten, fade, disappear from our perception, and then reappear again. Some look almost self-luminous, as though the light is coming from the object itself. And this is where the comparison becomes difficult to ignore, because we're now seeing remarkably similar bright, spherical objects in footage released by the United States government, recorded by military systems, pilots and witnesses around the world. Again, different cameras, different countries, different witnesses, yet the same basic forms keep appearing. And remember, the brightest objects in my footage wasn't something I found afterwards during editing, we saw it with our own eyes. Now, put what I captured beside some of the UAP imagery being released officially by the United States government. Different cameras, different locations, completely separate events, but visually the similarities are striking. Compact, intensely bright, spherical objects with no obvious wings, rotors, exhaust, or conventional structure visible. And this isn't the first time I've seen footage like this either, because several years ago, somebody in America sent me a daytime recording that, looking back at it, now suddenly feels very familiar. So that's where I'm going to leave this one, guys. 5 years ago, Michael recorded these strange, bright objects over America. And today, military systems are recording remarkably similar objects around the world. And now I've captured them myself. I stood there and watched that brilliant bright object with my own eyes. Esther saw it too, but neither of us realised just how much was moving through the sky until I went through the footage afterwards. And once again, we're seeing the same recurring forms, bright spheres, multiple objects, and extraordinary movement. Different witnesses, different countries, different years. Yet something remarkably similar keeps appearing. I don't think the question anymore is whether something unusual is sharing our skies. It clearly is. And governments around the world know that as well as we do. And if you want more investigations like this, don't forget to subscribe to Stranger Times. This channel isn't about fake footage, made up stories, or bullshit for clicks. If I don't know what something is, I'll tell you I don't know. If I think something can be explained, I'll say that too. I'm here to follow the evidence, show you what I genuinely find, and get as close to the truth as possible. I'm not here to lie to you, I'm here to show you and the world what I've seen, what I know, and what I can actually back up. Because the questions I'm interested in now are much bigger. What are they? Where are they coming from? And perhaps most importantly, what are they doing here?